if you're a federal worker and you just received a RIF notice or worried it's on the way, I'm going to show you one thing that you have to do right away to protect yourself as soon as you receive the RIF notice. So when you receive the RIF notice, this is from OPM, it should look something like this. You'll get an email. This will be from your agency, and it will tell you that you are being RIFed, and it'll tell you the reason for the RIF and when your last day is, and then it will tell you this information related to the RIF. The competitive area, the type of service, your position, grade, series, and things like that. So just to recap, in a RIF, they're going to get rid of people in a certain agency, and they're going to decide based on your military service, how long you've been there, and your performance rankings, if you can stay or go. And they will go by competitive area, retention, competitive levels, and retention standing. So competitive area, if you are in New York and your agency is laying off people in New York and Chicago, the New York people will compete with other New York people, the Chicago people will compete with other Chicago people. Next comes the competitive area. So part-time people compete with part-time people, full-time people compete with full-time people, Schedule A people compete with Schedule A people, and it also goes by the position. Attorneys compete with attorneys, economists compete with economists, paralegals compete with paralegals, secretaries compete with secretaries, nurses compete with nurses. And then you're going to get to the retention standing. So based on things like your military service, years of service, and your length of service and performance rankings, there's a calculation they'll perform, and it will give you a number, and they'll compile something called a retention register. Retention registers can look a little different from agency to agency. It might look like this, it might look like this, or it might look like this. So this is the sample in the Federal Register, and this is another one. But basically, based on those factors I just said, you're going to determine your tenure, your rating, veterans preference, things like that. So this is very important, especially if you are a veteran, that all these things are compiled correctly. So you get a lot of points for being a veteran, and you want to check that they came up with your rating correctly. So if you're not being RIFed, you don't have a right to see the retention register, but everyone who has been RIFed has a right to see the retention register with everyone on it, including yourself, and to see how it was calculated. So there could be mistakes on there, and you may be getting RIFed when you shouldn't be, so you have to demand to see the retention register. So if you look on your SF50, if you're a veteran, on block 23, it should denote your military service, and if it doesn't, you weren't given credit for it, and then you might be getting RIFed inappropriately. So you want to make sure that your length of service, your military history, your performance ratings are all being reflected accurately in this, so that you can determine if you've got a shot to either get a different position and be entitled to a reasonable offer, if you're allowed to retreat to a prior position you had, or if you have something called a bump right, where if somebody has a position that you're eligible for, and you can bump them, and then you can take that job, and then they would have to get another one, and you are entitled to keep the same salary, even if it's less than if it's 2 grades down, as long as you held your previous salary for 52 weeks. So it's very important that they get this calculation correct. And as you've seen, the current administration has been cutting corners. They've been firing people, saying it's performance related when it's not, and they have to go to court and defend it, and it gets reversed. They are downsizing people and getting RIFed, and I'm sure they're not following all the correct procedures on this, just based on how they're half-assing everything else. So make sure you're standing up for yourself. You have to request this. They're not going to give it to you. But as I said, if you're not being RIFed, you can't see the retention register. But if you are being RIFed, you have a right to it. And I'll tell you what you're going to do. And this is another example of a retention register. This is from the Department of Defense. You're just going to send them an email. It doesn't have to be any specific form. And you're going to say, pursuant to 31505B, I am requesting that you provide me with the retention register and all the records that were used to compile that. And then you're going to compare that with your SF50, with your annual performance evaluations, and with your computation date for when you started at the agency, and make sure that everything is correct, because if something is correct and you're not getting credit for it, you might be in the wrong category and you might be RIFed when you had a chance to save yourself. So as I said, they're probably not dotting all their I's and crossing their T's like they're supposed to, given the other shortcuts they've taken, but hold their feet to the fire. You are entitled to these records. You are entitled to a written notice that you were RIFed, so they should send you something like this with the last date that you're working, the reason for the RIF, and all these other things that were used to determine. So make sure that it's all there. Don't give these people a shortcut when it comes to your life and your livelihood and how you take care of your family and put a roof over your head. So I'm going to put a link to these documents from OPM in the description, as well as the link to this, which is the CFR, where it talks about your rights to receive this information in a RIF. And as I said, you just have to send them a quick email. It doesn't have to be a specific form or anything, but you do want to cite this just to put them on notice and cover yourself. Yeah, that's all I can think of. So once again, I have said this in previous videos. I'm an attorney, but I'm not your attorney. I'm not even an employment attorney. I am a former federal lawyer who dealt with finance, and I went through a RIF. I went through a VERA last year, and I took early retirement. And I'm sitting home. I have plenty of time. I have ADHD and an internet connection, and I'm trying to help. So I'm going to put the link to the Federal Register sections. I'm going to put a link to the CFR section here and the OPM materials so you can take a look at it. And I'm also going to put a link to that checklist that I had posted in a previous video about things that you should do before you leave federal government, like download your SF50s, change your passwords, things like that. And I'll put that all in the comments so it'll be helpful to you. And if there's any questions you have, just put it in the comments. If you have any suggestions for a further video, put it there. And if you want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Link coffee in the description as well. I'm going to, as I said, put all these source materials there so you can double check, because I'm not an employment attorney, and I don't want to give you legal advice because I'm out of my depth, but I want to give you enough information so that you can arm yourself and talk this over with an actual employment attorney if you need to, with your talk it over with your union if you have one, and print this out and put your heads together with your fellow employees and see if you saw something that I missed. So once again, good luck out there. Like and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos, but I figured I'd do one today on the RIF process because I saw something in the news about a lot of people getting RIF today, and my heart goes out to you. I know it's difficult being a federal worker in these trying times when you have sick people, like a crazy billionaire who runs around on stage with a chainsaw, high on ketamine, and doing Nazi salutes, and he's deciding whether you get to keep your job or not. So, don't give an inch, dig your heels in, and make sure that they're doing everything they're legally required to do. Don't let them do a shortcut that will affect your life in a bad way. As I said, I'll put more videos out when I can, and I did reach out to a couple of employment attorneys, and hopefully I can have them as a guest, one of them or both of them, and we can answer specific questions that I am not able to answer. And as Dan Gable said, if it's important, do it every day. If it's not important, don't do it at all. And I'm doing this to try to help you guys out, and I'd like for you guys to try to help each other out. If you know somebody that can benefit from this information, print out the links that I've provided and show it to them. If you know somebody that has information that you don't, ask them for help. If you know somebody that was RIFed, put them in touch with people who can get them another job. Make sure that they're being treated fairly. Just help each other out. We're all in this together. Good luck, everyone.